أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله وسلم عليك يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين المنتجبين. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة المظلومة. ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمن من لجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الذي خلقكم من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم من علقة ثم نخرجكم طفلا ثم لتبلغوا أشدكم ثم لتكونوا شيوخا. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Once again, we thank Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this wonderful opportunity to commemorate the Arba'in or the 40th of Aba Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam and that of his beloved purified household and companions who stood alongside him on the 10th day of Muharram in the holy city of Karbala. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to inspire us with the true teachings of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and grant us the tawfiqat to be able to implement what we learn and have learnt from Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdali salati wa aska salam. Last night, my brothers and sisters, we discussed the relationships between our beloved Prophet and Imam al-Hussein. And at the end of our discussion last night, we encouraged ourselves and humbly encouraged our beloved brothers and sisters to try as much as we can to adhere to the powerful messages of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Let us try as much as we can to paint and color our lives with the true colors of Karbala al-Muqaddasa. Remember, our theme is learning from the institution of Karbala. The verse I've just quoted from glorious Quran is Quran 40 verse 67. This beautiful verse explains the stages of our lives if you like, the stages of our existence. Departing from this beautiful ayah, our topic of tonight is the role and importance of youth in society. And our examination will be of the following stages. The first stage is to discuss what is youthful stage and what are the key features or characteristics of this very, very important stage of our lives. Second stage of my examination is to look at the role and importance of youth in society in the lens of glorious Quran and prophetic traditions. And then the last stage of the examination is to seek to look at some of the challenges that our youths are faced with in this day and age, and try as much as we can to suggest some possible solutions. The aim of tonight's discourse is to try as much as I can to first and foremost invite my dear youth, ladies and gentlemen, to understand their fada'il or virtues or values as per the teachings of Quran and Ahlul Bayt. And secondly, to invite our elders and the leadership of our communities to try as much as they can to reach out to the youth and to work with the youth to build solid and healthy community for our beloved future generations. No doubt, if you examine Karbala, you realize that this very important institution has so many inspirations. One of the inspirations we get from Karbala is the involvement of the youths, who no doubt played crucial role alongside Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In fact, narration mentioned majority of the companions of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam were youth. And hence, you find that very powerful youth who went out to defend Islamic humanity and to pay his allegiance to the Imam of his time chanted, Amiri Hussein wa ni'mal Amir. He said, indeed, my leader is Hussein, and what a blessed leader. He said, this my leader, Sururun, Fuadun, Bashirun, Nadirun. He is the comfort of the heart. He is a warner and the giver of a good news. He said, Ali and Fatima are his parents. Then he said, oh people, do you know of anyone like my leader Hussein? So this is where we came across the trace of the involvement of youth in Karbala. Now let's begin with our examination of tonight. What is youthful stage? In other words, who is a youth? To understand this, I would like us to look at youthful stage from two dimensions, from biological and psychological dimension. Biologically, scholars are of the view that youth is someone who is between the age of 13 to 35 or 40. In other words, all those who are of the age of 13 up until 40, they are all youth from the biological sense. And there are scholars who are of the view that youthful stage begins from the age 15 up until 40. And then we do have psychological definition of who a youth is, which is a very, very important and powerful definition. Psychologically, a youth is someone who is productive and creative. In other words, if you are 13, 14, 15, up until 40, you are expected to be productive and to be creative. And we'll discuss that more. If you look at the verse I quoted earlier on, Quran 40, verse 67, it highlights on 3 major stages of our lives. Although some scholars, when they examine the stages of our life, they say we have 4 stages. But the ayah of Quran mentioned 3 stages and put 1 stage under one of these 3 stages. The first stage is childhood stage, which is from birth to age 13. And if you go by those who said 15, so from birth to age 15. And then from there is the youthful stage. That is from 13 to 40. And then the last stage which Quran mentioned is from 40 up until death. You know, Allah mentioned, Huwa alladhi khalaqakum min turabin. He is the one who created you from clay. Thumma min nutfatin. Then from semen. Then thumma min alaka. Then from a flesh. Then after that, nukhrijukum tifla. Then we removed you as children. That's childhood stage. Summa litablugu ashuddakum. Then you reach your strength, meaning youthful stage. Summa litakunu shuyukha, according to the ayah, then you become old. That is old age. Now, those who are of the view that the stages are 4. The first one is childhood, youthful age, middle age, and then the old age. It's the middle age is from 40 to 50, and the old age is from 51 to death. Now, as we mentioned, psychologically, a youth is someone who is productive and creative. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given you that power at this particular stage of your life to be productive and to be creative and nothing else. And you know, this youthful stage is a very sensitive stage, in the sense that if it is properly taken care of, it will make a person successful in his future. And if it's not properly taken care of, then one will not be successful. In other words, youthful stage determines the future of every individual who is blessed with life to pass the youthful stage. Now, this youthful stage has different features as per the teachings of Islam. I'm going to mention some of those features, and kindly, my dear brothers and sisters, especially the youth and the elders of our communities, pay attention to this. It's very, very important, you as youth, to understand your value and to know how Almighty Allah view you and what He expects from you. And it is important the elders or the leaders of our community to understand the features of this very, very important stage of someone's life. Because if we understand as leaders these features and appreciate these features, then we will know how to relate to our youth and how to mentor them and task them. The first major feature of youthful stage is from the psychological definition of who is a youth. What is that? A youth is productive and creative. In other words, he or she has the power given to him or her by Allah to be productive or creative if he or she wants to be productive and creative. If a youth doesn't want to be productive and creative, then it's fine. But note that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given you that power. Where do we get that from? From glorious Quran, Quran 30 verse 54. Allah mentioned it. Allahu alladhi khalakakum min du'afin. He is the one who created you from weakness. What is the meaning of weakness here? Meaning when you were a child, you were weak. Summa min ba'di da'fin quwwa. Then Allah says, then after the weakness, we made you powerful. We gave you power. I mean what? After being child, you become youth. Then the ayah says, ثُمَّ مِن بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ ضَعْفًا وَشَيْبًا. Then after this power and strength, you then become weak with gray hair, or you become old. Now, the power is the youthful stage that you are given power by Allah. Of course, the power is there if you allow it to manifest. So you've got the potential to be proactive, to be productive, and to be creative as youth. Hence, you as youth cannot afford under any circumstance to waste your time, but to try to be creative and to be productive in your dunya and in your ukhrawi. Some of our youth are productive in their dunya, but they are not productive and creative in their akhirah. Islam expects you to be productive in your dunya and to be productive in your akhirah. That's the first feature. The second feature of this very important stage of our life is what? Sur'atul karar. Youth are quick in decision making. It's a feature that is given to us by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Youth don't take time to decide. Today, when you see some of our youths are taking long to decide some very simple things, you should realize that there is a challenge in their lives and they need help. Otherwise, as a youth, you are provided with the potential of taking decision quickly without any delay. And that is where you find our beloved first Imam, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, mentioned, Ali is fond of the opinions of elders. Scholars, when they examine this tradition, they said, Imam Amirul Mu'mineen is trying to say that if you truly want to develop a healthy community, yani proper, strong community, you need to put the youth in the forefront. And you as the elders become the think tanks. You give advice because your opinions and your experience are unmatched, and they are valuable, and they are significant. So if you truly want to build a very strong community, our elders must become our think tank. And those who manage in the field and in the forefront must be our youth. So the second stage of this very important stage of our life, or the second feature, is that they are quick in decision making. The third stage, or the third feature, of this very, very important stage of our life is what? Kabilun litagir. Youth adapts to a change easily. They don't take long to adapt to a different method, or a change in program, or a change in system. They accept change. Whereas the elders find it difficult to accept change. That's why sometimes you find in some of our communities, youths will want the program to be in a certain way, but the elders will be rigid and they will not want to hear anything about change. You know, the reason as to why you find some of the elders are not willing to change is that they are thinking that what we managed to build for many years, if we allow change, it will be in vain. Whereas it's not like that. As per the teachings of Islam, youth, they've got this energy, they've got this power to accept change easily without any delay. And Islam discusses it nicely, beginning with Prophet Nuh alayhi afdalus salati wa aska salam. Look at Quran 11 verse 27. Allah discusses about Nuh, and you know very well, Nuh went through so many difficulties, through so many challenges in trying to invite people to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Quran says, وَمَا نَرَاكَ, we've not seen, you know, this of course Quran mentioning, but Quran is narrating to us what the enemies of Nuh alayhi salam said to Nuh. They saw Nuh built his ark, preparing to move and go. Then they began saying to Nuh alayhi salam, but when we look at you and look at people around you, we do not see anyone. We see only those who are young, who are not matured enough. They are trying to say only young ones are with you. So here scholars, when they examine this ayah, they said those who accepted Nuh alayhi salam right from the word go were youth, were youngsters. They quickly accepted the change that this is a prophet of Allah and we must accept him. Likewise in the case of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, look at Quran 10 verse 83. When Musa came and he began calling people, you know the fitna of Fir'aun towards Musa. Quran said, فَمَا آمَنَ لِمُوسَى إِلَّا ذُرِّيَّةً مِّن قَوْمِهِ عَلَى خَوْفٍ مِّن فِرْعَوْنَ وَمَلَئِهِمْ. He said, no one believed in Musa except what? Few from his family. Now if you look at the tafsir of Quran, few from the family of Musa who believed in Musa were youth. They were not elders. Of course, later on, elders joined. What I'm trying to say is that this third feature of a youthful stage is that they accept and adapt new style, change, new program. And our beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam beautifully mentioned, he said, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala sent me with this Islam as bashiran wa nadhira, as someone who warn and admonish and also give good news. He said, when I propagated and invited people to monotheism, the first of those who accepted me were youth. He said, initially the elders or the old age group rejected me and denounced me. The youth first accepted me. So this is very, very important, my brothers and sisters, youth, young and old, to understand that you've got these exceptional features in you. And these features are given to you by Allah. Your duty, your responsibility is to ensure that these features manifest in your lives. If you fold your arms and do nothing, these features will not manifest in your life. And if you pass this stage of being youth, you will regret and chew your finger. You will say, had I know. And as they say, had I know is always at last. Now, after understanding these beautiful features of youthful stage, let us now look at the roles and the importance of youth in society. As Muslims, as lovers and followers of Ahlul Bayt, our guide is always the glorious Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And in fact, from these features that we have just elaborated, you will understand the importance of youth in society. Most especially when the youth are determined and disciplined, and most especially when the leaders and the elders of the community give youth the opportunities to express their God-given talents you will inshallah see wonders coming from the youth. Now, in elaborating more on the importance of youth in society, I would like to share some of the traditions of Ahlul Bayt and our beloved prophets. You know very well, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu was salam mentioned, if you bring me a Shia youth who is not disciplined, I, Baqir, will discipline him or her. This Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam said. Yani Imam al-Baqir is trying to highlight that at this stage, one is expected to be disciplined. Because once you are disciplined, you will help yourself, and in return you will help your community and your family. And hence narration mentioned, Man ta'allama fi shababihi, whoever study while he or she is youth, it will be like a design, like a drawing on a stone. Yani when you draw and you write on a stone, it stays on it. It does not vanish. So when you study at this stage of your life, it doesn't just go away. This tells us how important youth is and how important this stage is. Don't waste it. Use it wisely. Learn about your Islam. Learn about your Imam. Learn about your Quran. And of course, learn about your dunya. Make the best out of your time, because this energy, when you lose it and you pass from this stage, you will never and ever be able to bring that same energy. You can ask our fathers and mothers and grandparents, they will tell you. Another riwayah beautifully mentioned, Man kara al-Qur'ana wa huwa shababun mu'min. Whoever recites Quran from Imam Jaffari Sadiq alayhi salam, while he is a youth and a believer for that matter, this narration mentioned, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala will raise him ma'al kiram al-barara, with his angels and his true slaves and servants. This riwayah is telling us it is a very, very important. You understand that this is the stage of learning, acquiring knowledge, a stage of trying to connect with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, the Holy Prophet mentioned in that famous tradition which we all know, benefit from 5 before 5 comes. One of them Rasulullah mentioned, benefits from your time before you become busy. Number 2, benefits from your health before you become sick. Number 3, benefit from your wealth before you become poor, before you lose the money. Number 5, benefit from your life before death comes to you. And last but not least, the Holy Prophet mentioned, benefit from your youthfulness before you become old, before you become aged. This is a very, very crucial moment of your life. You cannot allow a day to pass without trying to be creative and productive, let alone allowing months to pass, let alone allowing the entire year to pass. You will never and ever be able to bring it back, and it cannot be replaced once it is missed under any circumstance. This is the teaching of our beloved Prophet Mohammed on the importance of youthful stage. That is why narration mentioned when our beloved Imam Zaman, the 12th Imam, comes and reappears, some will not accept him. Why? Because he will come like a youth. It's very, very important to understand your values or the youth of our communities. Now look at the lives of the Holy Prophets sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Holy Prophet was officially announced as a prophet of God when he was youth. At the age of 40, he was youth. He met Khadija when he was not 40, as you all know. But the point I'm trying to make, sent as a messenger as youth. And not only him, good number of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were sent to their people and to their world as youth. This is where the importance of youth emanates from. You cannot afford to fold your arms. Youth who are lovers and followers of Ahlul Bayt, but rather trying to make the best out of this beautiful stage of your life. Look at Imam Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Narration beautifully mentioned, La fata illa Ali. What is fata? Fata simply means youth, youngster. There is no youth like Ali. Imam Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam accepted the Holy Prophet of Islam when he was young, when he was youth. Let us emulate and follow their footsteps. Another example is what? Which Quran mentioned. The first one to be sent by the Holy Prophet of Islam to the holy city of Medina to open Medina was Mus'ab ibn Umayr. Young star. He was youth. Prophet trusted in youth. And they did due diligence to the trust of the holy prophets in them. They did not disappoint our beloved Prophet Mohammed sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And as we mentioned earlier on, majority of the companions of Abu Abdullah Hussein were youth. Look at Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, Qasim alayhi salam, brothers of Abbas, brothers of Qasim. They were all youth, my dear brothers and sisters. Look at Ashab Kahf. Quran beautifully mentioned, إِنَّهُمْ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. They were youth who believed in their Lord, and we increased them in their faith and in their beliefs. These were all youth. If you come to ordinary people, I'm sure you heard of Allama Hilli, who became mujtahid at a very young age and who wrote more than 100 books. I'm mentioning this to inspire our youth and to inspire the leadership of our community to take care of the youth, to give them opportunities to express their God-given talents before they pass this very, very sensitive stage of their lives, or stages of their lives. And again, as they mentioned, if you look at somebody like Bill Gates, he was very young, born in a very rich family, but he refused to use the money of his family, and he decided to do his own thing. Today where he is. So if you make the best out of your youthfulness, be rest assured you will have a brighter and a brighter future without an iota of doubt. And this is as per the traditions we've just elaborated from the Holy Prophet of Islam and the verses of glorious Quran. Now, what are the roles that our youth can play in the society? It's very important, after understanding how important you are and how Allah view you as youth, to now step in to play your part as a Muslim, as a lover and follower of Ahlul Bayt. The first role you have, my dear brothers and sisters, is really to educate yourself, dunyawi and ukhrawi. As you are educated, then you are able to give more. Read about Islam. Madrasa alone is not enough. Maybe you finish madrasa at the age of 15 or 14. You have to continue educating yourself. You remember the tradition of Imam al-Baqir. If our Shia youth are not serious with their faith, bring them to me. I will discipline them. So first role is to learn, so that you become mentor for the younger generations. Because the younger generation are looking up to you. If you are on the right direction, the younger generation will follow suit. Number 2 is to increase in your iman and love for Allah and Ahlul Bayt. Demonstrate it practically. Serve the cause of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. It's of great importance to understand that. And of course, understand the youth of our communities. As per the teachings of Islam, they are Imaduddin. You are the backbone of our religion. This religion grew through the effort of youth. In other words, the youth has to be in the field, in the forefront. And the elders must become a think tank, as I mentioned earlier on. And you know, brothers and sisters, the longest stage of our life is the youthful stage in terms of percentage. Look at it. From birth to 13 is how many percent? 22% or less. And then from 13 to 40, so 40% of your life. And then if you add the middle age, which is from 41 to 50, it's about 15%. And then the last one, from 51 to death, depending on when a person dies, it's about 20-something%. The longest stage of our lives is the youthful stage. So be in the forefront. Represent Ali ibn al-Akbar. Represent Ali ibn al-Asghar. But this is a moment that I would like really to share something with our elders, the leaders of our communities, that the Holy Prophet mentioned. Alaykum bishabab khira. Reach out to the youths. Be kind to them. Be good to them. Reach out to them. Give them tasks. Sometimes our elders, you need to let go something. If you truly want our youth to come on board and to play their part and to demonstrate their God-given talents. But if you don't want to let go, they will not be there. And number 2, we should stop being judgmental sometimes of the youths. Allow them to make the mistakes. By making the mistakes, they grow and they are able to emulate the footsteps of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus salati wa askas salam. Last but not least, what are some of the challenges that our youth are faced with in this day and age? The first challenge is that you find most of our youth, maybe because of their education or because of their status in the community, social or political or whatever, they tend to think that they are absolute independent. This is a challenge that I found many of our youth are faced with. The reality is that no matter your status as youth, no matter the level of your education, no matter the level of your social status, you cannot be independent of the advice and the opinions of others. Their experience cannot be bought by any amount. You need to always go back to the elders, consult them, talk to them, seek their advice. You may be higher in education than them. You may be wealthier than them. But this notion of thinking that I am perfect, I know better than them, they are old aged, they're just misleading. It doesn't work out that way. So having this sense of absolute independence is a challenge. And we really need to work on overcoming this challenge by taking advice, by consulting those who have worth of experience than us. Second challenge that our youth face today is what? Peer group pressure. Whereby you find some of our youth, they just want to fit in. Because my friend is doing this, I'm going to do it. Because my friend, she's wearing this way, I'm going to wear that way. Because my friend is not wearing a hijab, also I'm not going to wear the hijab. Because my friend is going to that restaurant, I also must go to that restaurant. It doesn't work out that way. We need to understand our circumstance and go according to our circumstance. Don't worry about someone. Most importantly, first look after yourself. But don't make others' impression of you to be the criteria of your lives. Today, these spirits of wanting to fit in is causing a lot of damage. It's causing a lot of problems. It is causing even frictions in families. Because someone has got so many likes on a YouTube page or Instagram page or Twitter, I am also going to try to do the same way so that I can get the likes. So this is a challenge of wanting to fit in that our youth are faced with. The third challenge is identity crisis, which is very, very important. You find out that our youth, either at work or online or university campuses, they are faced with identity crisis. In what way? They are Muslims, they are Shias. Islam says don't shake the hand of no mahram. But then where they are, people are shaking hands. How do they go about it? Or sometimes Islam says don't sit next to a place where alcohol is served. You find I'm at work and alcohol is being served, although I'm not drinking. This is crisis. Or no, sometimes they find themselves at a place where hijab is not something that people fancy, and then they have to wear their hijab. Baba, this is a challenge without an iota of doubt. But Islam says stick to your Islamic principles. What is important, not to harm anyone, but stick to your Islamic principles and be law-abiding citizens wherever you may find yourself. Don't give excuses to say people will laugh at me, people will look at me this way. No. What is important is to please Almighty Allah and to be a true lover and follower of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. And the last but not least challenge is what? Some of our youth waste a lot of time at this very, very important stage of their lives, either with their gadgets, on social media, with their phones. You find they waste a lot of time. I always tell people, at the end of the week, check your screen time. Sometimes when you check your screen time, you slap your face. You say, Ya Allah, I've wasted a lot of time. This is very, very important that our youth need to understand. Time is precious, especially at this stage of your life. If you do not make the best out of the time given to you by Allah to develop yourself, wallahi, you will regret in future. Remember, you are the backbone and the future of our communities across the globe. And Allah has given you potentials. Just relax and allow the potentials to manifest. In trying to make the best out of your time, I would like to suggest the following as my final points of tonight's discourse. That if you truly want to become purposeful youths, a youth with purpose in life, take care of the following needs. Number one, your intellectual needs. Study, I mentioned earlier. Dunyawi and ukhrawi. Study. If you truly want to be independent in terms of your deen, the only way to achieve that is to study. Take care of your intellectual needs. Otherwise, your intellect will be stagnated. It will be stuck. Have a mini library, I always mention. Read Islamic books. Why we don't want to read Islamic books? Why do we want to make Islam secondary? Why some of us don't want to make Islam topmost priority in our lives? Because if you don't do that, that will affect your children in future. And if you have children, I will discuss that tomorrow night, inshallah. You need to lead them by example. So number one, take care of your intellectual needs. Number two need you need to take care of is your social needs. Friend cycle is very important. Socialize. But don't allow that to take part of the time you spend by taking care of your intellectual needs. Number three need is what your physical needs. You working, go and work. Spend time making your business flourish. But that's not only something that you need to take care of. Remember the intellectual need. Remember the social need. And the last but not least, which is the most important, is your spiritual need. Take care of your spiritual needs. It's of great importance. Your salat, your fasting, your ibadah, your ziyarah, your hajj, these are of great importance. These are your spiritual needs. So once you are able to look after these four needs, you become purposeful youths and purposeful personality. And in conclusion, my dear brothers and my dear sisters, Quran says, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. One ayah says, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. That indeed, on the day of Qiyamah, you'll be questioned of the blessings given to you by Allah, the ni'mah. Wallahi, it is a great ni'mah to be a youth, to be a youngster. Make the best out of it. You write your history at this age. And our elders, fathers and mothers, leaders of our community, take care of our youth. Give them opportunities. Encourage them. They may make mistakes, but don't judge them. Advise them nicely. Encourage them. And they will definitely do wonders. You remember that relationship between Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his beloved son Ali al-Akbar. They were all fast asleep. But all of a sudden, Imam al-Hussein called, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Hazrat Ali al-Akbar woke up and said, Father, why I heard you saying Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Abu Abdullah said to Ali al-Akbar, as I was sleeping, I saw a man on a horse, and the man was saying, the people are going, and their death is following them. So as Ali al-Akbar asked his beloved father, Father, are we not on the right track? The father said, yes, of course we are on the right track. Abu Abdullah gave them opportunities. One youth came to Abu Abdullah for permission. Immediately after the shahada of his beloved father, Imam Hussein discussed with him, said to him, go stay behind, look after your mother. Your father is still on the ground. I have not sorted the body of your father. He said, no, my mother said I should come. Imam Hussein dialogued with them. He discussed with them. He gave them opportunities. He gave Hazrat Abbas opportunity to look after the camp. So as leaders, as elders, when we give them opportunities, be rest assured, we will see wonders. When we make them own programs, they will definitely do due diligence to our programs. At this moment, I would like us to take our hearts to the holy land of Karbala and remember our beloved master and savior, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi afdalu salati wa azka salam. At that moment, shimmer sat on the chest of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He began to poke the lips of Abu Abdullah. Some narration said he pulled the beard of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. As Imam Rida mentioned, they did not kill Abu Abdullah. They slaughtered Abu Abdullah. Because you know what? There is difference between killing and slaughtering, isn't it? When someone is being killed, he dies instantly. But when someone is being slaughtered, it takes time. It goes through a lot of pains before the soul goes out of the body. Shimmer sat on the chest of Abu Abdullah. He began to ridicule and disrespect this great personality and servant of Allah. He began to stab on the neck of Abu Abdullah. He went on several times according to narrations. By the end of the 14th time, he beheaded Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. when he beheaded Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. As you know, narration mentioned they beheaded Abu Abdullah an hour before sunset, if you like an hour before Maghrib. The moment they beheaded Abu Abdullah, they began to surround the body and began to loot the belongings of Abu Abdullah. Narration said someone took the shoes of Abu Abdullah, someone took the turban of Abu Abdullah Salamullahi alayhi. We are told the last of them, when he came, there was nothing for him, but he sported the ring of Abu Abdullah on the right finger of Abu Abdullah. He tried to remove the ring from the finger of Abu Abdullah. The ring was not budging. He took sharp knife and he cut off the finger of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. He then succeeded in removing the ring from the finger of Abu Abdullah. Narration mentioned after they looted the belongings, Umar ibn Sa'ad looked at these people and he said to them, go and sharpen the hoofs of your horses. They asked him why. He said, because I would like you to go and trample on the bodies of Hussein and his companions. But we realize that in the camp of Umar ibn Sa'ad, each and every companion of Abu Abdullah, or most of them, had their family members in that camp. He said to them, go and trample on the body of Ali al-Akbar. His family came forward. They said, Umar, we killed them. We will not go and trample on his body. He said, go and trample on the body of Muslim bin Awsaja. His family came forward. They said, Umar, we killed them. We will not go and trample on his body. He said, go and trample on the body of Habib ibn Mabagir al-Hasani. Narration mentioned his family came forward and they said, we killed them. We will not trample on his body. One after the other, the family would come forward and refuse to go and trample the body of their family members. Eventually, Umar ibn Sa'ad looked at them. Ajrukum ala Allah, my dear brothers and sisters. He said, who among these bodies has no family member amongst you? They looked around. They said, the one we found is the son of Fatima al-Zahra. Ya Hussein. And that was the moment Umar ibn Sa'ad said to them, go and trample on the body of Abu Abdullah. They began to trample on the body of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It is said they broke each and every bone of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Allahu Akbar. Each and every bone. Some scholars mentioned that they threw the body of Imam Hussein from one corner to another. That is why when you go to Karbala, you realize where Abu Abdullah is buried is not where Abu Abdullah was killed. Allahu Akbar. After trampling on the body of Abu Abdullah, the next thing they did was to set fire on the camp of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The camp began to burn. Sayyidah Zainab was going up and down to protect the children. She was going to protect the women. The little daughter of Abu Abdullah was running and the fire was burning from behind. She met that man whom she asked him questions as per the teachings of Quran. When he answered the first one, she said, Ana yatimatu Abi Abdullah, I am the orphan of Abu Abdullah. You know that night, which is referred to as Shami Gariba. Allahu Akbar. A lady by the name of Dailam, she gave piece of cloth to her servant. She said, go around. When you see the body of Zuhair, my husband, cover the body. He went around in Karbala and he came back. She asked him, have you seen the body of Zuhair? He said, yes. Have you covered? He said, no. She asked him why. He said, when I made the attempt to cover the body of Zuhair, I saw the body of Abu Abdullah uncovered. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. إلهي رضا بقضائك وتسليما لأمرك وسيعلم الذين ظلموا على محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.